Ray. What do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
The Basics of Manifestation by Kenneth James and Michael McLean. This audio is brought to you by YouAreCreators Inc. How do you get what you want? It's so easy to think and dream, but how do you translate those dreams to reality? Why do some people get what they want easily, and others have such a hard time? Basics of Manifestation. Manifesting anything depends upon knowing what you want. Knowing what you want is the very first thing to resolve for yourself in the creative process. This may seem too obvious, but ask yourself, do you have a clear idea of exactly what and how you want your life to be? If so, you are probably already living it, and you can skip this essay. If not, you are not even at the starting gate. Manifestation is about the ability to create. By create, we mean being, doing, and/or having something different from your current reality. If you know what you want without hesitation or doubt, and your contemplation of it makes you feel good, then manifestation is just around the corner. Discomfort of any kind when thinking about your desire is a signal that you have opposing beliefs. In other words, the feeling of discomfort indicates a contradiction within you. So what, you say? I'll just get going and resolve things as I go along. There are plenty of people who go about their creative process in this fashion. But these are usually blokes who have already experienced success. A few phone calls here or there, and they're in business. If you've never experienced success and go into action regardless, you're setting yourself up for a mixed bag of things that are a match to the contradictory thoughts and feelings you have regarding it. In life, you receive according to what your focus is on, not according to what you want. This may seem unfair at first, but not after you think about it a little. When you tune your TV set to Channel 8, you get the signal from Channel 8 and not from Channel 2. If this were not so, total chaos would result. And in such a chaotic universe, life could not even get organized enough to exist at all. In order to manifest, one's thoughts and beliefs must be precisely aligned to that which is wanted. Therefore, it is not enough to simply visualize what you want. It is very important to actually line yourself up with the goal. See Aligning Energy for a more in-depth discussion. Without this step, you're just going on hope. A clear vision and a properly aligned vibration will get you excited, eager, and ready to get into action. Obsessing too much about the goal can also get you into trouble. The tendency is to have a desire, then to realize how far away it is from your current reality. This causes frustration naturally because you want it, but don't have it yet. I experienced this acutely in my pathetic attempts to paint. After 2 efforts which could only be described as mud making, I gave it up for good. I was so obsessed with getting it right the first time that I did not allow myself the leeway to make any mistakes. Mistakes, of course, are actually learning opportunities, if you have the smarts to recognize them as such. Combining 2 colors that make a dirty brown when orange is intended is not a failure, but a positive piece of data to add to your painting database. My obsession with perfection, however, made it impossible for me to experience any enjoyment at all. I felt like a failure before I could even get started. Beginning action cycles before lining up with the goal leads to a lot of hard work because the actions taken are not directed clearly enough. Many times, these actions center around getting enough money. But this energy stream is very limited because the supply of money is limited. Tapping into this limited energy stream naturally focuses the creative process into avenues of scarcity and lack. If you have a big goal, you may also have to involve others in helping you to obtain it. This can be a lot of fun, but a lot of times you look at all the work involved and just say, "To hell with it. It's going to take too much time, money, and effort." Tapping into creative energy. But there is another way, a more effective way, and a way that will be joyful throughout. What you want to do is tap into the powerful energy of creation itself. This is the same energy that keeps the planet orbiting and rotating, keeps the atmosphere in a perfect balance of oxygen, nitrogen, and carbon dioxide, that keeps everything in the universe in balance. These forces are practically infinite, and compared to them, the pitiful amount of energy needed to manifest anything in the earth plane is not even worth mentioning. When you embark on the creative process, be certain that the energy of creation is there in abundance to allow any manifestation you can possibly desire. The only limitations are your own limiting thoughts and beliefs. Who do you think you are anyway? God? Only God has the power to create. Well, that's just not true. Consciousness is God force. Consciousness is the creative principle. Because humans are hidden in bubbles of biology, this very important fact is often overlooked. Knowing that consciousness is a non-physical creative principle is that it places you at source point. And it just happens to be the truth. When you understand yourself in this way, you experience the joy and the wonder of knowing who you really are. Tapping into the creative energy of the universe makes you feel fantastic. How do you tap into this creative energy? By creative visualization. By becoming clear on exactly what it is you want. By imagining yourself already having it or living it. By feeling what it would be like to have it. When you feel inspired, the universe will immediately start lining you up with the people and resources you need, and your actions will naturally proceed along the path of least resistance. See the basic laws of the universe. People resist this concept because it is so simple and sounds airy-fairy. But it is the only way anything ever comes to you. Many people think that the only reason anything manifests is through hard work, but nothing could be further from the truth. Your advertising department can spend oodles of money on a new promotion, but if the message is not aligned to the goal, all your work will result in little improvement. If you're not aligned to the goal, almost all of that hard work was wasted effort. That is why it was hard. Hard work is simply the way many align their vibration toward the goal. All of that sweating and struggling is slowly aligning your thoughts, beliefs, and feelings toward what is wanted. However, that is doing it the hard way. Better to work smart instead of working hard. Spend a little more time clarifying your vision and less time in action cycles, and see what happens. The point is, you can align your energy without working hard at all. Sun Tzu said, "For to win 100 victories in 100 battles is not the acme of skill. To subdue the enemy without fighting is the acme of skill." The Grand Duke said, "He who excels at resolving difficulties does so before they arise." Although these war analogies may seem inappropriate to some, I use them to point out that the idea of creative manifestation has been known and applied for thousands of years. Step 1 is figuring out what you want. Step 2 is aligning yourself to that. This is vital. An aspiring young actress wrote to me about the law of attraction. She says she wants so badly to land a movie role, but when she auditions, she always falls short. Her mindset is one of hope, but not belief. How can you tell when you've accomplished steps 1 and 2? When you feel inspired. A properly aligned state of being gets you fired up and eager to get into action. If you think you are clear on what you want, but you don't feel an inner joy, then you need to go back to the drawing board. Alignment to the goal begins your creative process and hooks you up with the creative energy of the universe. Before the engine will start, the carburetor needs to be primed. Creative visualization is the primer that jumpstarts your creative process. Well, that's entirely naive, you say. You can dream things up in your head, but that's not how it goes down in the real world. Well, Such an attitude already demonstrates a resistance to the goal. With a set of beliefs like that, you are doomed to failure. You must establish a properly oriented state of being, aligned to a clear, creative vision before success is possible. That vision paves the road ahead of you, allowing the law of attraction to match you up with the people and resources you need to accomplish the goal. Then the actions you take are all joyful, no matter how hard you're working, and you proceed along the path of least resistance. The belief in scarcity. The belief that hard work is the only way to attain something usually comes from some old belief system which says, I can only be worthy of having something if I work for it. Or, it wouldn't be fair for me to become prosperous when so many are lacking. But these sorts of beliefs are just self-defeating and self-limiting. Creative energy is in infinite supply, and you may safely and harmlessly become prosperous without depriving anyone else. What's the alternative? More and more lack. You cannot create abundance for all by staying poor yourself. Oh, that's ridiculous, you say. The earth has limited resources, and there's only so much to go around. Well, that has been the dominant paradigm on our planet for millennia. However, mankind has manifested economies of scarcity because of the consciousness of lack, not the other way around. The consciousness of mankind is a perfect vibrational match to scarcity in our economies, based upon the use of inefficient, scarce, and polluting fossil fuels, reflect this vibration. The universal law of like attracts like is so powerful that our fossil fuel economies could be transformed into economies based on clean energy technologies that are waiting in the wings. But so many people are into bashing oil companies and fighting against pollution that the vibration of clean and abundant energy is not a match to the present consciousness on planet Earth. However, it doesn't have to be that way. As Jesus said, "Ask and ye shall receive." The only catch to this is that when you ask, you must do so from a belief in well-being, not scarcity. The belief in hard work. The most inefficient workers are always those who are working the hardest. The best workers are the ones who get their tasks done effortlessly. Those who work effortlessly are those who have completely aligned themselves to the task at hand. They know exactly what to do and when to do it, and there is no question about it. They are in the zone, and their effort is joyful. The ones who are sweating, on the contrary, are in a state of disconnect from their tasks. They are disconnected from themselves as well. That is why they struggle so much. All of their effort looks good, but is inefficient. Their energies are not aligned to the task they are attempting. It's like using a gigantic fire hose to move a rock off your driveway. The neighbors are fascinated with the big fire truck and the flashing lights and the water gushing about. It makes really good entertainment. But all that was necessary was to pick up the rock and give it a toss. The law of attraction. Nothing can manifest for you unless you are already a vibrational match to it. That's just the way the universe works. The universe, through the powerful and infallible law of vibration and the law of like attracts like, matches you up with congruent people, resources, and situations. So any manifestation is just a byproduct of the alignment of energy within yourself to your goal. I inadvertently became involved some time ago in a dispute between Stan Tenen and Dan Winter. Stan is a genius and is head of the Miru Foundation. Dan is a brilliant and some might say eccentric genius. Both of these guys have diametrically opposite personalities, but share one common and very strong interest in geometry. Both of them have wasted, in my opinion, years of their lives and financial resources fighting each other. It's really sad to me because both these guys have so much to offer to the world. But that's the way the law of attraction works. Your vibrational orientation will match you up infallibly with those who are the most closely aligned to you. Why do people work so hard to get what they want? Well, it's the manifestation that's most important, obviously. Or is it? It's the alignment of energy within you that is the true reward, not the manifestation. This may seem like an absurd statement because it feels so great to have the manifestation. I'm not saying it wouldn't be better to actually be driving that new Ferrari instead of imagining it. Our young actress would certainly prefer to be acting the part instead of dreaming about it. However, you can't get the Ferrari or land the part unless you are completely aligned to it. You get what you get by being a vibrational match to it, for better or for worse. If you honestly look over your life to find out how you manifested something you wanted or didn't want, you will inevitably find, if you look closely enough, that you were already aligned vibrationally before it manifested. You can look at all of the Ferraris in the showroom. You can even test drive one. But you can't drive one home unless there is a precise vibrational alignment to Ferraris. That is why the aligning of your energy is so important. Moreover, once you have consciously applied the law of like attracts like to get something you want, you know you can do it over and over. Now you can manifest at will and stop demanding upon luck and hard work. As much as 95% of the work in manifestation is aligning your vibration to the goal. The other 5% can be action cycles. Ever wonder how some people can seemingly just step in a good situation? I'm reminded of one of my favorite actresses, Kate Winslet. The Internet Movie Database tells us that her first big break came at age 17 when she was cast as an obsessive adolescent in Heavenly Creatures in 1994. The film didn't do that well, but received critical acclaim. Still a relative unknown, Winslet attended a cattle call audition the next year for Ang Lee's Sense and Sensibility, released in 1995. She made an immediate impression on the film star Emma Thompson and beat out more than 100 other hopefuls for the part of Marianne Dashwood. That movie was the springboard to an amazingly successful career. Of course, Kate worked at her craft for many years prior to the audition. She did her first professional gig at age 11, a cereal commercial. And over the next few years, she appeared on stage regularly and landed a few bit parts in sitcoms. But there are a lot of struggling actors out there waiting tables. Why was Kate so successful? Oh, she's just so talented. Well, yeah, of course she is. But why is she so talented? More than likely, it's because she loves what she does. Because she throws herself into every role. Because she's not afraid to let her light shine. Because she's being the person she wants to be. When you're lined up like that, doors open up for you and the work you're doing is sheer joy. This is the origin of synchronicity. It's magical. But it is also precise and logical. The universe matches vibration, and it never misses. Have you ever just known something good was coming? That is the alignment of energy I'm talking about. It can be done deliberately. The prize. The prize is always a state of beingness. It is never the thing manifested. Why is this? Because the only reason you want anything in the first place is because you think it will make you feel good. A car is fun to drive, but an object does not have the inherent ability to make you feel good. That is why a rich person can still be miserable. It's really exciting to get something new, but the excitement always wears off after a while. When I was a kid, I'd play with my Christmas toys for a couple of days, and then they'd gather dust in a box. The new desire is always more important than the stuff you already have. A state of beingness is an attitude, an emotion, a feeling, a point of perception. It is something within you. It is what you are at any moment of now. It is the nature of consciousness. It brings inspiration, excitement, and eagerness for life, and it motivates joyful action. A state of being is intrinsic to your very essence, and it can be consciously created. The manifestation, when it occurs, just helps to hold you in a state of beingness, an attitude of joy. If you attempt to go into action before your energy is properly aligned to your goal, you will struggle. So if you are struggling, unfixate and take another look at the situation. Don't keep trying new actions in a desperate attempt to pull it off. All creation is done from a state of beingness, not action. Action comes after a state of beingness is attained, if you are smart. A beingness of confusion about what you want will lead to struggle and hard work. A beingness of complete clarity about what you want will inevitably lead to effortless and effective action towards your goal. Some might object to a reliance on beingness as opposed to action because the difficulties aren't apparent to you when you are just imagining it. Everything just goes hunky-dory when you dream it up, but that's not often how it goes down in the real world. However, if you work with this process for a while, you will discover that a beingness aligned energetically to your goal will, when action is taken, always lead to effective action. Work smart, not hard, as one of my teachers used to say. If you aren't getting results, stop what you are doing, go back, and find more clarity in your vision. If there is complete clarity and alignment of energy to your goal, you will be led inexorably to the most efficient actions necessary for manifestation. It is inevitable. And need I say that when your energy is fully aligned to your desire or goal, that you feel great? If you aren't having fun, you're not yet completely aligned, and you're probably working too hard. The value of action. The third step in manifestation is, of course, action. If you want to act, you have to audition. You have to work at your craft. Nevertheless, action is only effective when accompanied by an alignment of your personal energies to the goal. How can you tell when you're aligned? By how you feel. If you feel fearful or anxious or frustrated, you begin to pave the future with failure. That is why thinking positively is so important. There are very good reasons for this, most of them beyond the scope of this article. But the main reason is that it makes you feel good about what you're doing. And when you feel good about what you're doing, you are brighter, more intelligent, and the actions you perform are more effective. What actions should you take? Well, your actions will be different depending upon the goal in mind. However, you should always follow this rule whenever possible. Act only when you feel inspired. If you act only when you feel inspired to do so, your success is guaranteed. Why? Because when you're inspired and passionate, you are powerfully connected to the creative energy of the universe. Have you ever been in the presence of an inspired and passionate person? Were you not able to feel his or her intent? Didn't that person make you want to hop on that bandwagon? Inspirational speakers are so effective because their vibration is so powerful, it entrains the thoughts and emotions of those around them. Such people find it a lot easier to recruit the people and resources needed to accomplish their goals. Yes, but those kinds of people are special, you say. Ordinary people aren't capable of that kind of passion. Wrong. Inspirational people are just like you and me. The only difference is that they have a clearly defined goal and have lined up with that goal. It's a goal that gets them out of bed in the morning and fires them up throughout the day. Anyone can do that. All you have to do is figure out what you really want in life and start somewhere, however small, along that path. Our aspiring young actress may start by going to a local play, just soaking up the atmosphere. Perhaps she'll go backstage after the performance and talk to the cast members, asking questions about where to audition. She might go to the library and read one of her favorite plays, take it home and pretend she's on stage, saying her lines. Even if she can only spend 15 minutes a day at her passion, it will be the funnest 15 minutes of the day. She'll begin to look forward to doing something connected with it each day, and she'll begin to find more and more time to do things related to it. Like a snowball rolling downhill, she'll start very small, but quickly pick up momentum. The more you are aligned with your goal, the stronger will be your intent and your joy. It's contagious, in a good way. If you've never experienced this kind of joy, more than likely, it's because you have never taken the time to go through steps 1 and 2 above. If you're like me, you might have told yourself, what's the use? There are too many people better than me at everything I want to do. Well, that's a recipe for failure. What you have to understand is that when you begin to travel the path of your passion, you begin to find your voice. And when you discover that unique voice within you, others will respond. They'll respond because we're all connected to each other through the universal field of consciousness. In other words, when you find yourself, you are able to communicate effectively to others. Having said that, sometimes taking action before you're lined up can help jar you into better creating. But this is usually a sign that afterwards you still need to do some more work clarifying your visualization. Sometimes just getting off your butt and into a little action can be a good thing, even if it is ineffective action. It can help to break up old energy patterns. But remember that the universe will always answer your vibration. So if your energy is not lined up with your goal, you'll encounter roadblocks. This is the most frustrating part about the creative process, because we think we're aligned, but what we get is not a match to our intention. By examining what did manifest, it is possible to identify old beliefs and feelings and further clarify our visualization. Don't give up. Continue the process of aligning your energy, and when it feels better, go into action again and observe the results. When your energy is fully a vibrational match to your desire, you will feel it. You will know it. You'll feel excited and alive and certain of your own well-being. Usually, any action taken out of a sense that it has to be done is a sign that you have not aligned your energy clearly enough to your goal. Under these conditions, you will struggle to a slight or great degree. Here's an example. I decided to raise my prices in my contracting work last summer, but I didn't really believe that the market could support it. So every time I bid a job at the new price, I never got it. Funny how that works. Because my energy was not lined up, I continued to attract the clients that were only willing to pay me at the old rates. It was only after I went back and removed some of my old beliefs about my self-worth and about money that I was able to bid these jobs comfortably. The creative process and life force. Receiving the manifestation is, paradoxically, not the purpose of this process, as we mentioned above. It is the alignment of your energy. The manifestation is a byproduct of the alignment of your energy to it. It's the alignment of energy within you that brings about a feeling of joy. During the manifestation process, your desire is causing life force energy to surge through you. That's the real purpose of any manifestation process. This can be seen easily enough, for soon after you realize the goal, you have another desire, and another, and another, and another. If the manifestation were the end result, you would only need to create once. We would simply create something and be happy with it forever after. But that doesn't happen, does it? We always get tired of it after a while, and there is always the next desire to shoot for. I enjoyed my first house for a couple of years before I wanted a new one, even though it felt so good to leave my old apartment building. The tendency for all living beings is to desire more and more. This is not greed. It is the desire for more and more life force energy, more and more of the energy that makes you feel great. People who are greedy are grabbing for more and more, but they don't understand that the prize is a state of being. They're reaching for objects to supply happiness, and that is wrong way forwards. Desire is life force. So the more desire there is, the more alive you feel. Negative emotion occurs when life force is blocked or distorted. Sometimes you get yourself crosswise into the stream, and it doesn't feel very good. That's why some teachers promote the extinguishing of desire. Desire, however, isn't the problem. Desire is the fuel that makes the train go down the tracks. You can play it safe and just not start the engine, but then you never go anywhere. Life force energy, or prana, or chi, is God force, the creative energy of the universe. Tapping into this energy is sheer joy. It is an infinite supply. So take all you need. The journey is the reward. If you are undertaking the creative process just for the manifestation, there will be a lot of frustration, for you will look at where you are now and where you want to be, and you'll see a big chasm. You will say something like, "I don't like this apartment. It sucks. It would feel a whole lot better if I had a lot of money." That energetic chasm makes it impossible for a vibrational match, and so you do not manifest. When an artist paints a great painting, she is not complaining the whole time because the painting is not yet complete. She is throwing herself into the creative process with verve and gusto and having a great time with the work. That is how the creative process should feel. If you're complaining a lot, step back and look at why you're doing what you're doing. It may shock you. The journey is the reward, and the manifestation is just the reason for the journey. Because there will always be another journey and another manifestation. The process is ongoing, eternal. It never gets done. That's what eternal means. Continuous creation. So have fun creating and receive everything you desire. Manifestation and delusion. In order to manifest anything, you must be delusional. Literally. Or, shall I say, you have to be delusional, as defined on planet Earth. If you've ever been criticized for having an idea that was out of the mainstream, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Usually, the arguments against your brilliant concept go along the lines of, "It's too unrealistic, can't happen," or "Get out of your fantasy world and get a grip on reality." Most people would define delusion as perceiving as true that which is not real. But this is precisely what you must do to manifest anything. It's what the creative process is all about. Something that is not physically present in your life is not yet real, according to common wisdom. But if it's real in your mind and in your heart, it is possible to translate it into the physical universe. In order to create anything, you have to pay attention to the thing that isn't real for a long enough time until it shows up. An artist who wants to make a painting, for example, will have to hold the idea and the picture of what she wants very clearly in her head until she has it just the way she wants it. The same thing goes for manifestation of any kind, whether it's a painting, a business, or a relationship. If the artist gives up on her vision with the picture half finished, it can never fully manifest. That's a sort of dumb statement to make, but I've found that it is really important. In order to receive what you want in life, you have to be it first. You must envision it clearly, enough so that when you think about it, the feeling of what it would be like to live with it is present. In this way, you begin to resonate to the desired thing, and only by resonating to it can it show up in your experience. This is just an inevitable result of the law of vibration and the law of like attracts like at work. It is necessary, of course, first to apply the law of free will and decide upon what it is you want. Action follows thought. In the entire history of the universe, there has never been a manifestation that was not preceded by thought. What is the main reason people don't manifest what is wanted? In my personal experience with this material, I can tell you that almost without exception, the main stumbling block is the comparison of what you are envisioning to the present reality, or to the life of someone else. A person who wants a new car must begin to resonate to that idea. It is helpful if he or she begins to imagine what it would be like to be in the new vehicle, even while driving the old one. I can assure you that if that person did this without noticing the lack of a new car, he or she would eventually get it. How this occurs will be different for every person. Money, or lack of it, is no object, for no matter how far one starts from the goal, a vibrational resonance to the new car will result in a new car. The distance along the path of manifestation is not a distance in time or space. It is a vibrational distance. In other words, it's the distance you have to go in order to be the thing you want. If you want to have a new car, then you first have to be a person with a new car. It's silly, really, but the simplest things are often the most powerful and truthful. Stated another way, if you can't be a person with a new car, you can't have it. Being a person with a new car is no effort at all. It doesn't even require action. If you want a new automobile and you don't have the money, applying this process will inevitably raise your emotional tone, and you will begin to feel excited about the possibilities of acquiring your new vehicle. You'll begin to think of fun ways to get into action. This process is so powerful that it can result in a life change. Why is that? Because the goal, the new car, is almost irrelevant. The goal could be anything at all that gets your juices flowing. Once you feel the power of creative energy, or source energy, or life force energy, there are many names for it, it can literally change your life in an instant. Being just requires a little imagination and the ability to pretend. The distance one travels to fulfillment of one's desires is more of a feeling than a moving of matter and energy from one place to the other. Activities that proceed from a state of being not aligned to the goal are relatively worthless. Therefore, it is more important to, delusionally some might say, work with being than with doing. This concept only makes sense when you recognize the paramount importance of consciousness in the creative process and understand that consciousness exists independently of physical structure. When you work to establish a state of being, you proceed along a path that aligns you with the creative energy that directs and maintains the entire universe. A feeling is just a vibration. The thing or situation you want is also a mix of vibrations. When you line yourself up vibrationally with the desired thing, you begin to attract into your experience things like it. The only way you can prevent this from happening is to insert vibrations into the mix that aren't a match to what you want. If you like Mozart piano concertos, for example, you don't want to add rock and roll notes and rhythms into the mix. The law of like attracts like can be demonstrated. Throw a party and invite all sorts of people. Put on some classical music and see what happens. A little later on, play some jazz, and then some rock. Put on a rap. You'll notice the most astonishing mixes of people moving in and out of the room, and a lot of different conduct. The people who like classical might arrive with a few drinks in their hands and start an intellectual conversation. When the jazz is on, some will move out of the room and others move in. People might begin to tap their feet and swing to the music, and the topics of conversation will be different. When the rock is on, another set will come in, and so on. Like attracts like. Just as music is a vibration within the air, so are the thoughts and feelings you have. In the vibrational universe model, these are sent out through the universal medium and are just as real as the molecules of air that produce sound waves. In order to manifest, you must already be what you want. It's as simple as that. If you want to change the manifestations you bring into your life, you can't pay too much attention to conditions that are not congruent with what is wanted. This idea is precisely backwards from what we have been taught. If you tried to explain it to a friend of yours, he might say, "When I have my new car, I'll be someone with a new car, you dolt." This is backwards. Being comes from having. In fact, it is the prerequisite for having. If you want something different than what you already have, then you must ignore anything about the present reality that is not congruent with your vision. This applies especially to artists, who understand this idea very well, but also to life. Life itself is a creative process, regardless of the sometimes mundane nature of the desire. Cars, money, etc., as well as relationships, are all manifestations and are all subsumed within your personal creative process. Therefore, as one who creates his or her life, you must, in some sense, become delusional. The current reality is not as important as it's cracked up to be. It's just a snapshot of the things you have brought into your life in previous moments of now. The now moment is always new, always fresh, and always an opportunity to create something different. And you do that by choosing to resonate to what you want, not what you already have. Once you are living your ideal life, then of course, by all means, revel completely in the present reality. But until then, you must begin to resonate differently. There are many ways to do this, and one of the most powerful is to simply appreciate what you already have that is in agreement with the vibration of the desired thing. For example, a person who wants a bigger house on wooded land might appreciate the house she has and the trees that already exist on her property. This process finds the vibrations of the desired thing in the present reality and emphasizes them, and at the same time deactivates the unwanted vibrations. You'll find that you are never completely removed from the things that you want. If you have been wanting something for any length of time at all, there will be a slight bit of them already present. Now all you have to do is to begin to find them amongst the current reality. In other words, even a poor person has some money. Now all that is required is to emphasize the vibration of more money. A poor person is poor because he or she has merely been resonating more to lack of money than to a lot of money. A person who wants a new car probably already has a car, even if it's an old junker. Someone who wants a better relationship may already have one, even if it's not ideal. The creative process is utterly dependent upon the imagination, which is to say, the ability to utilize the creative energy of the universe. On Earth, most people have forgotten how to pretend, mainly because they have been educated out of it and see no purpose in it. But if you can look at pretending as simply a vibrational process, then the whole thing becomes clear, powerful, and purposeful. The process of manifestation begins with a change in vibrational orientation and emphasis, and that merely requires placing the attention in different areas and on different things. But this shouldn't be hard, because the things you want are fun things. Otherwise, you wouldn't want them. If you find that the thing you want makes you feel rotten, then you have to back off and try again. Somehow, you have got crosswise into the stream, and the flow of your desire is hitting you broadside, causing discomfort. More often than not, it isn't your desire that's out of position, but your considerations about it. If you want a more loving relationship, but are certain that it's not possible, then focusing on relationships at this time isn't doing you any good. So try something else that you can feel good about. Remember, manifestation is a vibrational distance, not a distance in time and space or money. When you raise your tone, you become a better vibrational match to all of your desires, no matter what they are. Does that make sense? If we look at the problem intellectually, it doesn't. Jill, for example, loves her brother very much, but can't seem to find the right guy. How can I find my lover by thinking about my brother? She asks. Well, look at the problem vibrationally. There are lots of things that make you feel good, and lots of things that don't. Your consciousness isn't sectioned off, however, like a hotel. There isn't a relationship room, and a money room, and a job room. There is only your focus on these subjects that raises or lowers your vibration as a whole. So, feeling loving about brother is a nice step forward to straightening out your vibe on lover. You can apply this idea to any difficulty. Many of us have been taught to overcome problems by beating them into submission. Jill, for example, thinks that getting help on her issues regarding relationships is a good thing, and it would be a good thing if she could find a therapist who understands the law of attraction and the law of vibration. However, that is not likely because Jill's vibe regarding relationships is all about her issues with guys. Therefore, the law of attraction is likely to match her up with someone who believes in digging right into these issues. This will only stir them up even more. That's how the law of attraction works. It may seem unfair, but LOA simply and mindlessly matches you up with those who are most congruent to your vibe. When Jill looks in the phone book for a therapist, she will find the one that is most like her present vibrational orientation. If she calls her friends for a recommendation, she'll be attracted to the therapist who is most likely to want to confront those issues. Will Jill succeed? Who knows? It will all depend on how quickly she decides to release her issues and place her focus on the kind of guy she likes. This brings up another point. One should never force oneself to do something. For example, when I write, I only do so when I am inspired. I can usually only go for an hour at a time, 2 max, and then I take a break or quit altogether for the day. I'm not a believer in the old saw that if you want to be a writer, you force yourself to write until you find your voice. For if you continually do something with a feeling of discomfort, then you will resonate predominantly to that feeling whenever you undertake it. Eventually, you won't be able to do it anymore, or if you do, your efforts will be unimaginative. This is a problem experienced by artists of all kinds. I know of a woman who majored in art at university, a very creative painter. But by the time she graduated, she wanted nothing to do with painting at all. It's a shame, really, to watch her creative process. She has the desire to paint, but before she can even start, she voices a ton of criticisms of her technique. She gets upset, can't decide what to paint, and throws down her brushes. The same idea applies to children. I've known people who were forced to learn piano as a child, and now want nothing to do with it. Of course, there are always people who will say, "I'm so glad my mom made me take piano as a kid." But when I ask them, "Do you play?" the response usually is, "Not anymore. I just fart around," or something like that. There's certainly nothing wrong with messing about on the piano. I do it all the time. But one wonders what would have happened if the child would have been allowed to come to the instrument on his own. Perhaps the world would have another Bill Evans or Kenny Kirkland. Manifestation in money. Usually, manifestation is looked upon as a gap in money. The reasoning goes, if I could only afford the payments, I could buy that new Camry. But if you don't have the money, then what do? Most people say, "I'll get a second job and work harder." That is certainly a good way to do it, and if you feel good about the extra effort you have to put in, then it'll be no sweat. But if it isn't possible to work any harder, then what do? Or what if what you want has nothing to do with money, like health, for instance, or a relationship? Now, one must understand and apply the laws of the universe in order to be successful. Money is just an energy, and it vibrationally lines up with some of the things in this world, like new cars. And it doesn't line up with a lot of other things, like good health. Even if you don't have money, you can still fulfill your desires. The first and most important step is to line up your vibrational signal with what you want and keep it there. That will lead you onto a path of manifestation that is never exactly predictable. Although you may be very clear about exactly what you want and how you're going to get it. This is a universe of free will. It isn't possible to control the actions of others. A needed employee for a business venture, for example, may show up off the street looking for a restroom. Or you may get some needed capital after meeting someone at a party who knows a venture capitalist with some extra cash. I knew a guy once who got a job as a salesman, and along with the job came his brand new car. It wasn't quite what the gentleman wanted, for he was on the road all day. This is an example of the old saying, "Be careful what you ask for. You might get it." It is very confusing trying to figure out how to run your life by observing others. What others say and their true vibrational orientation may be completely different, and so it appears that the laws are inconsistent or random, for unless you have attained a state of unity consciousness, it is not possible to know completely the thoughts and intentions of another. Most people will find that an application of universal principles to their lives will result in a gradual change for the better. The biggest mistake is to compare your progress with those who are doing better or who have manifested more quickly. One can never tell how long someone else has been working on lining up their energy toward something. Success for another may have been the fulfillment of years of vibrational work, even though it appears instantaneous to an outsider. The point is, don't criticize your progress or compare it unfavorably with another's. Every time you take your eyes off the prize in this way, you create counter-intention and pollute your vibration. The law of vibration and the law of like attracts like never cease to be operational. The laws of the universe, in other words, don't go on vacation. Let's face it, there are lots of successful people out there who have never heard of the law of attraction and could probably care less. Nevertheless, if you could get them to tell you their life story in intimate detail, you'd see the operation of universal principles weaving their way into the fabric of their experiences. Manifestation and delusion. Let's see what the dictionary says about delusion. A false belief or opinion. In the synonym study, it says, delusion implies belief in something that is contrary to fact or reality, resulting from deception, misconception, or a mental disorder, to have delusions of grandeur. From the Webster's New World Dictionary, College Edition, 1962. The idea is that if you hold true to something in your mind and heart that isn't real, you're a fruitcake. For example, if you've been insulted by your micromanaging boss for no reason, your coworkers might encourage you to retaliate. If you remain charitable towards them, you may be criticized. If you buy a computer and it doesn't work right, your friend might call it a piece of junk. If you cheerfully refuse to acknowledge this reality, your friend might think you're a few French fries short of a Happy Meal. I'm not talking about calling white black, for that is truly delusional. That which already is, and it's foolish to deny it. However, there is a disturbing tendency on planet Earth to ignore the importance of being. Being, or consciousness, is the engine of every creative process. I point out the computer example because it happened to me. After I bought my new motherboard and graphics card a few years ago, the computer wouldn't boot up. I got angry, called up the store complaining my head off, thinking that I'd have to take my purchases back when the guy said, "Make sure your graphics card is seated very firmly in its socket." Well, after that, the thing worked like a charm. The point is, sometimes the reality of the situation is not what it appears to be, and just a slight shift of focus can change it. The person who was criticized by her boss might realize that she had made an error the previous day and had gotten upset that morning as her child balked at going to school, making her late for work. There are myriad reasons we use to explain why things happen to us, but the truth is that the world acts as a mirror to our own thoughts and feelings. Having said that, there really is sometimes a fine line between deliberate creation and delusion. The key to understanding where deliberate creation ends and delusional dishonesty begins is the guiding rudder of your emotions. Where are you on the emotional tone scale? The guy who claims to be abundant and can't pay his rent at the end of the month had better get some new thoughts. We live in a well-ordered universe, however, and universal laws guarantee that as soon as you reach a better vibe, not only will you feel better, but the conditions of your life will begin to improve. Now all you have to do is delusionally focus on the reality you want and ignore the stuff that irks you. The more conscious you become, the easier it is to be aware of what you're feeling. What you are feeling is paramount, for it tells you the status of your vibration and how much resistant thought you're placing in your own way. Your feelings stem from your thoughts, your beliefs, your attitudes, which is to say, the choices you make and how you decide to be. When you're down and out, you can't expect to leap to joy real fast unless you've practiced. So you're going to spend some time in the nether regions of emotion. But as long as you're moving upward, then you're okay. A thorough knowledge of the scale of emotion/vibration is vital. And I urge you to take a look at the essay called Emotions on the website, where I've posted a copy of it. Those of us who know about the law of vibration and the law of attraction understand that it's not possible for your boss to criticize you for no reason, or for a computer you buy to be a piece of junk for no reason. We understand that we are always at source point in every area of our lives. We take responsibility for the things that occur in our lives, and we don't whine and complain when things don't go right. We regard apparent setbacks as learning opportunities, because that's what they are. They're an opportunity to learn a little bit more about ourselves and our vibrational orientation, and to use the power of thought to get a better attitude. Manifestation is a process of continually resonating to something wanted. That means a delusional refusal to acknowledge the things that are not wanted, even if they are sitting in front of your face. You see, delusion, like almost everything on this planet, is misdefined. If I were a conspiracy theorist, I'd say that it was done on purpose. For the things we are taught as children are 180 degrees the opposite of universal law. Are we just confused? My wife always says, never assign to malice that which can adequately be explained by stupidity. Maybe that's true. It is truly delusional to continually resonate to unwanted things. If there is a big icy patch before you on the sidewalk, do you try to negotiate it or go around it? If you take your canoe to the river, do you paddle furiously upstream or park your car downstream and take a nice leisurely ride? Well, I guess it all depends on the kind of person you are, but mostly we are taught to brave the ice and row upstream, because it is better to overcome obstacles and transcend challenges than it is to be a wuss. Challenge builds character, we are told. But really, all it does is get you used to uncomfortable vibrations, so you don't notice them anymore. It shuts down your awareness of your emotional control center, which tells you at all times how close you are to your desires and your goals. Your emotions are your rudder, keeping you in the middle of the stream and not stranded on some sandbar or entangled in tree roots or dashed against the rocks. A pleasant emotion tells you that you are resonating to the things you want, and a negative emotion tells you the opposite. On earth, we are told to shut up and get to work, to climb that mountain and tote that barge. The boss gives us a medal and a pat on the back, and we are allowed to enjoy ourselves for a little while. Then we are supposed to get ready for the next obstacle. That sort of a life is 99% misery, interspersed with a few moments of joy. It is the life of a drone. I'm not trying to tell anyone how to live, but for me, I'd rather live a joyful life rather than one filled with obstacles to be overcome. Feeling good is feeling powerful. And if you don't believe me, then the next time you're miserable, ask yourself how powerful you are. It's only after you surmount the challenge and are successful that you feel powerful. The rest of the time, you're probably anxious or worried or uncomfortable in some way. And if you're not, then it's not really an obstacle, is it? It's just another way to enjoy yourself. Success. One of the most enlightening things you can do is to talk with a successful person. You'll be able to see, from your understanding of the laws, that pitfalls and struggles can always be traced back to some core belief in lack or inadequacy. It is said that you have to fail a couple of times before you finally make it. But this is just another myth. The famous pizza maker Tom Monahan from Domino's is a case history of this idea. However, all failures result from the misalignment of your energy toward your goal. Many people feel that they have to pay their dues first, before abundance is warranted. However, paying your dues, like any other belief, is a self-fulfilling prophecy. The cycle of failure and restart is often observed as an exercise in personnel, materials, and action cycles. Business models are developed to aid a person in his or her commercial venture. But really, such analysis is approaching the situation from the wrong angle. The action cycles and the movement of people and resources always results from the vibrational orientation of the participants. Of course, the larger the undertaking, the more difficult is the process of vibrational alignment. However, we are on firm ground when we state that universal laws respond to each one of us individually, and that success, at least on a personal level, is always possible. If you want to have success, first decide exactly what it is you want. Then keep yourself resonating to it, and ignore anything in the real world that doesn't match up. Find things to appreciate about the current environment, and act only when you feel inspired to do so. An outside observer may consider you delusional, but so what? It is your own vibrational orientation that dictates success or failure for you. The more excited you are about your undertaking, the easier your creative process will be. Even if you begin completely ignorant, you can overcome all perceived barriers. That excited, eager feeling is your best guarantor of ultimate success. We conclude by redefining delusion from perceiving as true that which is not real to paying attention to that which is in alignment with your desires. This definition aligns you much better with the things you want and makes you feel better as well.